Hey, this is Moose with Moose of All Trades, and today I have story time. It's going to be broken up into several parts. I might put the whole thing up somewhere, but I have a story about what happened 4 years ago, I think today. Popped up in my memories, and it starts with the night before. My wife, then girlfriend, and I went out and bought a dog, and we were both kind of staying with our parents at the time, and we didn't discuss that with them at all. We just bought our dog. You've seen him. His name is Rocky. Brindle dog. Love him. Anyway, he was this big. He's now 65 pounds of muscle and whatever. Anyway, he was a tiny little thing, and we kind of hit him that night. And I had just, so this next day, the story starts really with, I was on my way home from work. I was talking to my wife on the Bluetooth. I was leaving work. I had about a 40-minute drive home. And so we're discussing her taking the dog back to my parents' house, and we were gonna introduce him and, see how everything went, which it went great. But anyway, so we are talking, and I'm on a road, and the highway that I took home had a service road. And if you're not familiar, a service road is kind of like a little version of the highway that has all of the crossroads on it. So you take your exit onto the service road, and then you can, go off onto the side roads or the crossing highways or whatever. But I know not everywhere has that. A lot of places do, a lot of places don't. So the road I was on was a one-way road that had two lanes that both turned to the right onto the service road. So I was like one car back in the left lane. The car that was up front in the right lane, he was looking to the left. And as I was pulling up, because there's no reason to really look to the right, I always look to the right because there was a company over there, and I noticed all the time that people would be walking, from right to left when they would get off of work. So I noticed that there was a woman walking toward the intersection. And so I was like, okay, mental note, she's over there. I'm going to look to the left, wait for traffic. And then, okay, traffic's clearing up. I can make my right turn now. I just need to glance back to the right, make sure that woman's either stopped or I have to stop, wait for her to cross. So as I look to the right, the car that was in the right lane is starting to move forward with this woman right in front of the car. I mean, directly in front of the car. And so I'm talking to my wife through the Bluetooth in the car, and I look and I see her, and I go, oh crap. She starts smashing her hands on the hood of that car, screaming. I could only imagine, and so could you, what she was saying. She's smashing her hands and screaming. And then I see her go down, and I see the car go, ba-dum, and he takes off. And I'm going, oh crap, oh blank, whatever. Oh my God, what the hell? And so I have clear, other people stop. I could tell other people were stopping to help her. So I'm like, I'm not letting that guy get away. And I'm on the phone and I'm trying to explain, while I'm processing everything that's going on, and I'm trying to catch up to this guy because he floored it. I'm trying to catch up to him to at least get his license plate or something. And so I don't know if she's okay or not at the time. She was okay, needed to be taken away in an ambulance, but was okay. I'm going to leave her for the other people. I'm chasing this guy. So he goes into the left lane. It was a 2-lane service road. He goes into the left lane, and there's a red light with a couple of cars stopped already. So I pull up next to him and nose in front of his car, blaring my horn, window rolled down, screaming, pull the over. He is laser-eyed forward. pretending like he can't hear the horn honking, like nothing. Finally, I get his attention, and he's like, "What?" And I'm like, "Pull over. You just ran over that lady. Pull over." He's like, "I did?" And in my head, I'm like, "Of course you know what you just did." I could see her smashing her hands on the hood of that car. There is very little excuse and no real excuse for you to not see her smashing her hands on the hood of your car. So he like kind of just pulls off to the left a little bit, just into the shoulder. And I'm like, "No, pull all the way over." I was screaming at this guy, "Pull all the way over." Pulls his car into the grass. I kind of pull behind him onto the grass even further. I was driving a little SUV at the time, and he had like a sedan, 4-door sedan. And so as I get him to pull off onto the grass, another car pulls up behind us. And at first I thought it was a cop because it was like a Impala or something like that, like a white Impala, like typical cop car. Turns out that was actually one of my coworkers at the time. He was pulling over too to make sure that like I had the situation. And well, because he was going to help do what I was planning on doing, which was at least stopping this guy, trying to get him to go back, whatever. So we pull this car over. I pull him over. This coworker of mine pulls up, and he goes, "Hey, do you got this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I guess, yeah." He's like, "All right, cool, because I got my wife in the car. We're headed out. Like, if you got this, I'm just gonna leave." I was like, "Yeah, no, it's fine." And also, I wasn't being threatening per se in the way I was speaking to this guy, and I don't think he perceived me as a threat. The story gets into more detail on that a little later. So aside from telling him to pull over, like, that was that. And by the way, all of this was reported to the police just how I'm telling you. I didn't hide anything. So there's no like, what did you do? You should have this, you should have that, you shouldn't have this, you should have. The cops were happy with what I did, believe me. So I get him off the road. He gets out of the car, and he's like freaking out. And I'm like, "Did you not see her? How could you not see her?" And he's like, "I don't know. He's like on the phone, I think with his dad or something like that at the time. His dad at the time, you know what I mean? So he was like on the phone at the time with his dad, like, I just ran someone over. I don't even know what's going on, whatever." And I'm like, "We got to go back to where this all happened." So he's like, "I can't drive backward on this because it's a 1-lane road. It would take like 10-15 minutes for us to go all the way around and back. And we were only a couple hundred yards down the road from where we'd started." So I was like, "Listen, you can leave your car parked here. You can hop in the car with me. I'll drive on the grass backwards to where the accident was." And he goes, "Oh, okay. Quick side note, it was this time of year. It's November 30th right now. So in the spirit of the holiday, I was listening to the South Park Christmas album. I had hung up with my wife at this time. Like as soon as I started yelling at him to pull over, I was like, "I'll talk to you later." Hang up the phone. So I had the South Park Christmas album on, but I had been on the Bluetooth with my wife. So like it was just paused, and I'd shut my car off. So when I turned my car back on with him in the passenger seat, the first thing you hear is, "It's Christmas time in hell," which I immediately turned red in the face and shut the radio off. Because this guy is freaking out. I don't know him really, but he wasn't being threatening to me, and I wasn't being threatening to him, but I'm sure his Christmas time is going to be in hell with what just happened. So I drive back on the grass toward where the accident had happened, where the woman had gotten run over. And sure enough, there's a lot of people stopped, a lot of people getting out of their cars trying to administer first aid on her. What happened to her was he did run her over, thankfully just her legs. I'm not positive of this, but I'm pretty sure she made a full recovery. That's not my business, but she wasn't run over in the midsection or anywhere up here. It was her legs. So they're kind of trying to take care of the crowd of people is like focusing on her. Then the crowd of people sees me pull back, and some people cross the road. I get out of the car. I tell him, you should just stay in here. Just stay in the car. And so he's like, oh, okay. Thank you so much. I'm like, whatever, dude. I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing it for her. You're a jerk, but you stay in the car, wait for the cops to get here. Right. So, I'm sorry I'm laughing. It's just knowing that everything turned out okay is the only reason I can laugh at this, because the story gets crazy. So, so he stays in the car. The crowd comes walking across to me. They're like, oh man, thank you for trying to go after that guy. Did you get his license plate number? I'm like, I got him. They're like, what? I'm like, yeah, I got him. He's in my car. They're like, what? And like 3 or 4 guys start running toward my car, and I like step in from a whoa. Don't do that. Do not do that. You stay away from my car. You stay away from that guy. You wait for the cops to get here. Don't touch him. Don't threaten him. Nothing. Wait for the cops to come. Don't do whatever is going through your head right now. Just stop. He's not being a threat to anyone else right now. He's freaked out enough as it is. He's going to pay for this. This is on him. We're all witnesses to this, like whatever. So I think an ambulance just happened to have been driving by and like stopped and was administering first aid to this woman. Cops show up within, a couple minutes, not too long. So they start on that side of the road, because we're on opposite sides of the road now. So they start on that side of the road, and they start asking for witness statements and what happened and everything. And somebody points across to me and like, that guy knows what happened. He chased him. So the cop's like, he chased him? Oh, okay. So he walks across the road and he says, hey, someone over there said that you found this guy, you got his license plate or something. And I'm like, I got him. He's sitting in the front seat of my car. They're like, what? I'm like, hey, I chased him down the road. I stopped him. His car is parked. You can kind of see it down there a little bit. He's down there and he's sitting in the front seat, the passenger seat of my car. I brought him back. They're like, oh. So one cop goes to him and starts dealing with him. And the other cop comes and grabs my statement. I tell him everything that happened, right? So the cop takes him out of my car. I give my statement. And at this point, I'm just kind of like, hey, so like, I'm good to go. Like, you don't need anything else from me. You have my contact information, my statement. Like, is there anything else you need from me? Or is it cool for me to just get out of here? They're like, no, you did everything. Thank you. Like, excuse me. Like, thank you for stopping him. I'm like, it was reaction. It wasn't a thought. It was like, that guy needs to be stopped, kind of thinking about it later. Not the brightest idea to go chasing after someone and forcing them to pull over. Yeah, not a good idea. Follow license plate number, police, let them handle that part. It didn't register. It was just do thing. That was all I did. And I'm not telling this story to boast in myself. Don't get it wrong. Like, this isn't like, look how good I did. This is like, this story is crazy, because it still gets crazier, right? So I leave. This was a Friday, and it was a Friday because I was working overtime on Saturday. So I get home from work after all of this. My wife shows up with the dog, and we're showing my parents this puppy that we just bought. We're showing them this puppy. And they're so like, what the heck with the story I'm telling them that I just pulled someone over who ran over. I watched a lady get run over, and I'm sorry for laughing, but like, the fact that I had just gone through what I went through, they didn't care about they cared about the dog, but like, they didn't care. Like, they were like, what happened? What did you do? Like, what the hell? And then, then the dog was welcomed into the family really quick, and it was, all fun and good and whatever. Saturday morning, I go to work for overtime. I'm telling the story at work. And like people are like, did that really happen? Did you really do that? And they're like, I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not lying. And then I see the guy that had stopped back when I first pulled the guy over, the guy that had stopped that I said worked with me. I see him walking across the hallway down a ways from me. And so he's walking across, and I'm like, hey. And I go running over to him. And I was like, that was crazy. Like, that really happened, right? Like, I'm not making this up. Like, this didn't just happen in my mind. Like sanity check. The story is nuts. The story is ludicrous, right? And he's like, no, that was nuts. I couldn't believe I watched him run over her. I need to think of a name. Okay. I just couldn't believe it was Gerard. And I was like, it's Gerard. What? What are you talking about? He goes, oh, Gerard. He works over there. I'm like, what? He works for our company. I'm like, wait, what? Yeah, he's a welder. He works on the company. I was like, you mean to tell me that the guy that I just watched run over a lady, try to run from it, I pull him over, take him back, the cops get him, I don't know what happens from there, but the guy that I did all that with and watched him do that terrible thing works over there? Like, he works here. He works with me? He's like, yeah, you don't know? I'm like, well, now that you say that, sure, but wait, we work with this guy? So now the story is going all through the company. Like, everyone's like, I was like, oh God, I shouldn't have told anyone. He wound up getting a slap on the wrist. And what happened was, because I brought him back to the scene of the accident, he wound up not getting, fleeing the scene charge. Even though I told them that, everyone else that gave us testimony told them that. I guess the cops it was already too much paperwork. I'm not accusing the cops of anything. Maybe they misinterpreted the reports. I don't know. I know it's a lot to go through. So from their perspective, they didn't see it happen. We saw it happen. Maybe they misinterpreted it. I don't know. I'm not trying to blame anyone. But he didn't get the fleeing charge, which would have been way worse for him. So the story ends about a month and change later. No, about a month later. We're at a Christmas party for work. I haven't really seen him since all of this happened. He's at the Christmas party. And he locks eyes with me. He walks up to me and I'm like, oh God, no. And he goes, hey, thanks for helping me with that thing back about a month ago. And I was like, sure. I didn't know you, and I definitely wasn't trying to help you. Me and him wound up being kind of cool after everything was over. We talked and whatever a little bit. Not then, later. And then I remember, the only other thing I remember about this story was at one point, probably 2 years after this had happened, I think it had finally settled, the insurance and whatever. And he made some kind of comment like, can you believe that she got blah, 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 and that my insurance went up so much? And I'm like, yeah, I can. So I'll always remember the day after I got my dog as the day I made a citizen's arrest on my coworker. If you followed this all the way to the end, God bless you.